Whether you're an accredited investor or a non-accredited investor, you can invest in multifamily real estate. That's apartment buildings. And I'm going to look at 2 platforms that can help you do that. Hey, I'm Rebecca. Thanks for joining me on the Mama Lorian Way, where I talk about money and entrepreneurship, wealth building, and investing. And today I want to talk about investing in multifamily real estate. So first of all, there are 2 types of investors. There are accredited investors. Accredited investors are individuals and couples that have a high net worth over $1 million. Non-accredited investors, their net worth doesn't come up to $1 million. A long time historically, non-accredited investors were not allowed to invest in multifamily real estate alongside accredited investors, but now they can, and there's a way they can do it, and it's through real estate investment trust. And I want to look at 2 websites today, 2 platforms that have REITs, real estate investment trust, that non-accredited investors can invest in. So let me go to my screen. All right, the first website I want to look at is called RealytMogul.com, and they have a lot of real estate investments for accredited and non-accredited investors. And today we're just going to look at the real estate investment trust. And RealytMogul has 2 of these. So what realty investment trust or REITs are: a portfolio of multifamily or apartment buildings. Sometimes there's commercial properties in there's a whole portfolio, and you can invest as a smaller investor. And in this particular case, the minimum of this REIT is $5,000 for both of these. RealytMogul offers 2 types of REITs. One is an income REIT, where you would get a bigger annualized return back in monthly distributions, or a growth REIT, which less distributions, less amount of distributions over the year, the month. In this case, it's quarterly, but at the end, you have a more participation in the growth of the fund and how it grows at the end. It is a group of apartment buildings that at the end of the fund's term, they are sold off, and the appreciation on the properties is distributed to members of the REIT. So you have $5,000 minimum, approximate 6% annualized rate, and 4.5%. This is approximate. They can't say for sure because we don't always know how things are going to pan out. All right, so who can invest in this? Both accredited and non-accredited investors. The minimum is $5,000. And then let's look at this. What are the details? And I'm going to go into this growth one. And what is good about REITs is that they have investments over different geographic locations, different types of apartment buildings. So some may be more high end, some more medium range, and they're more protected against one certain event happening to a property. So if you were invested in one property and there was an earthquake there, your investment would be gone. Well, this one in a REIT, you're not subject to that kind of volatility because there's more properties. This Mogul REIT is a vehicle that invests only in multifamily apartment buildings and their portfolio. So this is where you see that there's distribution of risk. They have a multifamily in Michigan, Dallas, Texas, a lot in Texas, Connecticut, New York, more Texas. Texas is very hot right now, and they're weighted differently. What is interesting here, these multifamilies have been put up on RealytMogul platform for accredited investors to invest in as well. So what I'm seeing with RealyTMogul is there's $5 million invested from the fund into this, looks like a townhome kind of apartment building. RealyTMogul offers these investments first up to individual investors and also buys into the investments with their fund, which tells me a little bit like they really believe in the offerings that they're going to put up. So the other thing is the returns on this is not just 6% or 4.5%. These are open investments, and I can't look at specifics because I can't disclose that. But a lot of these open for investments, you could invest them in and see an IRR, a return, internal rate of return in the double digits, which historically we're looking at about 17%. So you're getting extra bonus on that 70% of appreciation over time inside your growth, and probably some in your income, but it's going to be a little bit less on the sale. All right, so this is RealyTMogul, and I want to look at DiversyFund. So DiversyFund, they don't offer individual offerings for accredited investors. They only are a fund, a REIT, invested in multifamily for accredited and non-accredited. So with one investment, they say, and I like this, you are instantly a co-owner in a diversified portfolio of real estate assets. So it splits your risk up rather than holding on to one asset. You're diversified as it is. Both of them are professionally managed. And let's see if we get started here. All right. Oh, one thing I did want to say, in RealytMogul, you can invest in your self-directed IRA in the REITs, not in the individual offerings, but in the REITs. All right. DiversyFund, investing, reimagine, get started. I actually signed up for an account, so I'm going to go into my account. First of all, the minimum investment on DiversyFund is $500. I swear it is. I can't seem to find it here. You can also set up recurring investments as you can on RealytMogul and invest like $500 every quarter or every year or whatever it is you want to do. You can reinvest your dividends. View the properties in the growth fund portfolio. So there, in this one is different. If you remember RealytMogul, there was $268 million across 10 properties. So there's more in the fund. A lot more investors in this particular one. So it's more diluted in that. Here are the properties that they have in their fund: North Carolina, Florida, Texas, California, Utah. What they're saying potential return, 15%, 16% IRR, which is your rate of return on your money. Historically, that's very in line with multifamily over 5 years or so. So they are all over the map as well, which is good news. They have a help center. What kind of returns can I expect? Well, there's two types of returns: dividends, which you get paid every month or every quarter, and then appreciation, and that's more of your IRR return, which they can't promise anything, but historically it's about 17%, which is in line with the whole U.S. They also say they saw a 5% dividend yield this past year, 2019, when they first started the fund, and they're looking for 7% preferred return. Doesn't mean you're going to get it, but they are going to distribute as much funds to the investors up to 7% first. That's preferred. Oh, and then one last thing. How long is the investment term and when do I cash out? The investment term is about 5 years. It's not open-ended. It won't go on indefinitely. It goes through a cycle of acquiring assets, improving them, and then cashing out. They're qualified to raise up to $50 million, which they'd close the REIT and then open a new one, which is probably why RealytMogul has a few REITs going on as well. RealytMogul, if you want to know how liquid a investment is on RealytMogul, if it's less than the year, it's locked up. 1 year to 2 years, you can get 98% of your money back. After 2 to 3 years, 99%, and 3 or more years, 100%, unless you die and then your heirs can have the 100%. So the difference between RealyTMogul, you can get it out after a year. You'll pay a little penalty. In DiversyFund, you need to be committed to invest for 5 years. Do I like one over the other? One thing I'm going to say, I like RealyTMogul's site way better. It's DiversyFund. Sometimes it didn't load. Sometimes I couldn't figure out where I needed to be, obviously. But in both of them, you have the opportunity to invest as a non-accredited investor in multifamily real estate. Look for money in your pocket between 4.5% and 7% quarterly, maybe monthly, and then a bigger return, 17% approximately on the sale. Do your due diligence. Look at the properties on the websites. If you like certain geographic locations, maybe you would pick one over the other, but they're both regulated by the SEC. And whew, I hope that made sense. And phew, anyways, I know there's a lot of information. Go check out RealytMogul.com. Check out DiversyFund. Maybe one of them appeals to you over the other. And like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.